Mega Evolution is one of the most powerful mechanics in the Pokemon franchise. The ability to push your Pokemon to limits further beyond has always been a beloved thing among trainers, since who doesn't love a strong Pokemon? But like with most power, there's normally a severe drawback, and Mega Evolution isn't any different. And over time, people started to realize just how dire the consequences are of using Mega Evolution. So I'm gonna go over all the lore of Mega Evolution and the severe drawbacks it has on some Pokemon, since Mega Evolution has made a return in Legends ZA, and there's a lot more new things we know about it now than we did a couple of years ago. This story of this power begins hundreds of years before the main Pokemon games with Mega Rayquaza. For a while, Rayquaza was one of the few Pokemon floating around in space, spending most of its time eating meteorites. This may seem really strange, but it isn't for no reason. Rayquaza is doing this purposefully because he has a very rare organ inside his body called the Micardo organ. This part of its body converts the power of the meteors into Mega Evolution power. When Rayquaza consumes enough meteors, he's able to Mega Evolve at will without a Mega Stone, which is the exact reason why in the games and the anime, Rayquaza is the only Pokemon that can just Mega Evolve at will without a stone. I should also mention that Rayquaza can hold a held item too while Mega Evolving, which is broken, but regardless, Mega Evolution seems to be innate and natural to only Rayquaza, but it doesn't explain why tons of other Pokemon can Mega Evolve today. Simultaneously, while Rayquaza was eating rocks in space, a meteor was heading right towards Earth with an abundance of Mega Evolution power. When this meteor made impact with Earth, it ended up leaking an abundance of Mega Evolution power within the surface, and around this time, there were very few Pokemon and humans. The main driving forces on the planet at the time were Groudon, who was terraforming and creating the land, and Kyogre, who is creating and governing the sea. So when they see a godlike meteor with an abundance of power landing right in their home, it's like a Black Friday sale on who's gonna get the most power, and Groudon and Kyogre started fighting over the power of the Mega Evolution. It's believed that the power leaking out of this meteor is what caused them to turn into Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. So while these two were fighting back and forth trying to kill one another, the people on Earth at the time were really scared that they were going to die too. Out of desperation, the remaining human population decided to pray around a rainbow stone for someone to come and save them from Groudon and Kyogre, and it ended up working, since Mega Rayquaza descended from the skies and came down to Earth to defeat and seal away Primal Groudon deep within the land and Primal Kyogre deep within the sea. The people on Earth who contribute to this event are known as the Dracnoid people, and they're relevant later in the lore, but after this, Rayquaza decided to ascend back into the sky, and legend says that Rayquaza will come back to bring balance if Kyogre or Groudon go out of order, or if another Mega Meteor comes down to Earth. Now, for a while, the Pokemon world was looking pretty normal. There wasn't any Mega Evolutions from other Pokemon seen yet, since Keystone's the thing that Mega Evolved Pokemon just didn't exist yet, until 3,000 years before the main series Pokemon X and Y games, where there was a great Pokemon war. Tensions were rising since the Kalos region was flourishing, and the king at the time, known as AZ, was getting really scared that his nation was going to be attacked by the neighboring region, so he had to think of something fast. So the solution AZ came up with to try to end the great Pokemon war was by building an ultimate weapon to wipe out everybody. And this definitely worked. When the weapon was fired, a ton of nations back then got wiped out. The destructive capabilities of the ultimate weapon were so strong that when AZ fired the biggest hit yet, it ended up splitting the Pokemon timeline into two universes. One universe where Mega Stones and Mega Pokemon do not exist, and the current universe where the weapon's power ended up mutating some evolutionary stones into Keystones and Mega Stones, which we know today that give Pokemon the capability to Mega Evolve. With all the lore out of the way, it takes us to the present day, where there are tons of Pokemon that are able to Mega Evolve. There's over 50 of them now, and some of them even have 2 Mega Evolutions. I'm looking at you, Mega Charizard and Mega Mewtwo. I originally thought the only lore reason on why these Pokemon have 2 forms is because they have a special organ like Rayquaza to give them 2 Mega Evolutions. Since you know Mega Charizard's a dragon, Mega Rayquaza's a dragon, it somewhat makes sense, but around the recording of this video, Mega Pikachu X and Y got revealed, so it's all pure fan surface, but nonetheless, Mega Evolution seems to be going well. Everything was going fine until a few trainers noticed noticed that when they Mega Evolved their Pokemon, they started acting different, even a bit more aggressive. One of the first Pokemon to Mega Evolve in modern society is Mega Lucario. There's even a statue of him within the Kalos region, and even so, in the Pokemon anime, it is the first Pokemon we've seen suffer serious consequences to Mega Evolution. When the gym leader Karina uses Mega Lucario when she's a newer trainer, Lucario ends up going feral with the only objective to kill Pikachu, the opponent that he's versing. Mega Lucario was acting like a primal animal, biting Pikachu by the tail and literally losing all of its senses. The only reason why this Pikachu didn't get sent to the hospital is because another Lucario jumped into the fight, saving everybody. Karina's dad told everybody that things like this do happen from time to time when Pokemon Mega Evolve and they're not comfortable with the power. When we end up learning more about Mega Evolution throughout the franchise, we end up seeing a lot of Pokédex entries that depict these Pokemon in pain, which is really odd since when we were first introduced to Mega Evolutions in Gen 6, no Pokemon seemed like they were in pain. It seemed like a really fun and great thing. But everyone was really wrong, since the power of Mega Evolution seems like it can't be handled by a ton of Pokemon, and even some of them are getting driven insane. Taking a look at Mega Gengar, its Dex entry originally says that it tries to take the lives of anyone and everyone, and will even try to curse its trainer who tries to master it. Mega Sharpedo's Dex entry says the yellow patterns it bears are old scars. The energy from Mega Evolution runs through them, causing it sharp pain and suffering. Mega Aerodactyl says it will attack anything that moves. Mega Evolution is a burden on its body, so it's incredibly irritated. And Mega Scizzor's Dex entry says that it stores the excess energy from Mega Evolution, so after a long time passes, its body starts to melt. There are a ton more of these torture Dex entries that depict these Pokemon in serious pain because they have an excessive amount of Mega Evolution energy. Since, if you think about it, Mega Evolution is originally just a nuclear ball of energy, so every Pokemon will handle it differently. I can understand why Pokemon like Groudon and Kyogre don't feel any pain, but a Pokemon like Sharpedo can't handle all the nuclear energy. For a while, a lot of people, including myself, were aware of these Torture Dex entries, but it kind of seems like Game Freak was just putting them in the lore so that we would have a good reason to stop using Mega Evolutions when they eventually got rid of them. So when we moved on to the future games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, they had their own new mechanics, being Dynamax, which makes the Pokemon really big, and Terrestrialization. And in the lore, none of these mechanics seemed to hurt Pokemon at all. It looked like everything was sorted, but traveling to the present day, Pokemon Legends ZA is the latest Pokemon game, bringing us to the Kalos region, and Mega Evolution is back. We've seen a lot of new Megas, and so far my favorite is Mega Chestnut, but the question is still on everyone's mind. If Mega Evolution is so brutal and harming Pokemon so much, what is the reason for them coming back in Legends ZA? Because when I look at Mega Dragonite, I really have a hard time believing that this Pokemon is dying to nuclear energy. I was under the impression the Pokemon games were just going to retcon all the Torture Dex entries and Mega Evolution is just like the power of friendship, but to my surprise, when you read the Pokédex entries of some of the newer Pokemon, they are still harming them. Mega Victory Bell's Dex entry says the energy of Mega Evolution has produced such a large amount of acid within Mega Victory Bell's body that it has to wrap its own throat to prevent this acid from spilling out everywhere. At this point, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if Mega Pikachu's Dex entry is something like the power of Mega Evolution puts a great strain on Pikachu, so it uses its tail to walk instead of its feet. At the time of recording this, Legends ZA isn't out yet, but should be releasing very soon, so I really am hoping to get an explanation on what the power of Mega Evolution is doing to hurt or harm these Pokemon so badly, since the only thing that Game Freak has retconned with Mega Evolution is that it's a phenomenon that only takes place within the Kalos region, since we've seen Mega Evolution in many regions after its initial release. It even looks like the direction we're heading with Mega Evolution is alternate reality, since the DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA is said to be taking place across dimensions, which is why there's a Mega Pikachu X and Y, but only the future will tell what they're planning to do with this concept, and all I can really hope for with these alternate dimensions is giving more Pokemon starters Mega Evolutions, specifically Mega Incineroar. I love this guy, and I think he would make a perfect Mega Pokemon, even though a lot of you guys seem to hate this idea, so let me know which Mega Pokemon you want in the comments. And for now, this is all the updated Mega Evolution lore, but I'm sure down the line we'll have more information. For now, click the video on your screen to know all the lore of Legend legendary Pokemon, since it's a bit of a banger, and hype the video if you can. I love you guys, and I'll catch you all next week.